Ron DeSantis for prison for 30 years. Yeah, for cannabis racketeering. Hi, this is Donald J. Peterson running for governor of Florida. I'm going to legalize recreational marijuana day one. Why isn't Ron DeSantis selling the marijuana? He's conspiring with law enforcement, which means that law enforcement is selling all the marijuana and keeping all the money for themselves. That's double dipping. We have to investigate all that. That's fraud. Okay. Minnesota, sure, they have $19 billion worth of fraud, but you know what? Minnesota has recreational marijuana. Florida does not. We have 142 million tourists every year who come to Florida, and there's no recreational marijuana for them. They are forced to find a drug dealer. And the drug dealer is on Instagram, Snapchat, and Discord, and the drug dealer has a badge in their pocket. Law enforcement is conducting what's called reverse drug stings. They are selling all the marijuana and drugs and keeping the money for themselves. Double dipping. That's time fraud because they're getting paid a salary. And instead of funding their counties, helping their counties to have that money for needy programs for all the people who are losing their jobs, all the federal workers who've lost their jobs, all the companies that are going out of business. All these people can't pay their bills now. They can't bathe, they're living in the dark. So what I'm saying is we have to provide for these people, and Ron isn't. There's nowhere for a homeless person to go take a shower unless it's somewhere, a Christian organization, but anything sponsored by the county, there's nothing. There's no men's centers. There's no women and children centers. Do you know right now in Florida, there is homeless women and children, okay? Mothers with their children living in their cars, and they can't bathe. There's no showers. There's no outreach centers like county outreach centers for women and children. There's none. So Ron DeSantis has been a failure as a governor. Not only did he not have any kind of state SNAP funding, all right, all that money. He stole $35 million worth of Centene money. That's Medicaid funding that came from the federal government. That was a refund. And instead, Ron took that money and gave it to all his criminal friends and to keep marijuana illegal. I think even James Altmaier got some of that money because he's the Attorney General of Florida and he's not investigating anything. I've sent so many emails and called so many times saying, why isn't James Altmaier investigating cannabis racketeering for Florida? James Altmaier never calls back, never sends an email back, nothing, because I think he received some of that Centene money. That's why he goes along. Blazing Goglia, too, the chief financial officer in Florida, isn't he concerned with $60 to $100 billion worth of marijuana revenue that's going to law enforcement, and they're keeping all the money? And then what about all the drug trafficking by law enforcement? And law enforcement, their reverse drug stings, they're even selling marijuana to children. And most of it is laced with fentanyl. Did you know that? All that corruption is going on. And this is in Florida. This is not Minnesota corruption. So we lost $35 million worth of federal refund money that should have went to feeding programs for children and baby formula programs and everything. What it is Ron and Casey DeSantis took food and baby formula right out of children and babies' mouths. All right? Just to keep marijuana illegal so law enforcement can sell it all. That sounds like corruption to me. So anyway, I think Ron DeSantis should go to prison for 30 years because he's a cannabis racketeer. Jay Collins is a cannabis racketeer. Jay Collins is a Purple Heart veteran. I love him for that. But he's a cannabis racketeer. He wants law enforcement to make all that money. He's conspiring with law enforcement to allow law enforcement to make all that money. Okay? There's no recreational marijuana for sale for the tourists. So that means 142 million tourists come to Florida every year, and they have to go find a drug dealer thanks to the corruption of Ron DeSantis, Jay Collins, and James Altmaier, and law enforcement. Law enforcement are committing cannabis racketeering. They're trafficking all the marijuana. Call and ask them. Call any Florida sheriff's office in all 67 counties and ask, drug unit, Are you conducting reverse drug stings? Yes, we are. You know the definition, right? No, you tell me the definition. Law enforcement posing as drug dealers selling confiscated drugs. They're doing that. And that's going on and right now. And what's amazing is even Ashley Moody, the old attorney general who skulked out, knowing that she's guilty too of horrible crimes. Now, she said 20 tourists a day are dying in Florida. Yeah, at the hands of law enforcement, trafficking these drugs on the internet and keeping all the money for themselves. So I ask that you look into this. First of all, $35 million worth of Centene Medicaid funding, federal funding that was stolen by Ron and Casey Desantis, okay, to keep marijuana illegal so all their criminal friends can keep marijuana illegal so that law enforcement can sell it and make all the money double dipping. This is horrible what's going on in Florida. But Ron DeSantis for prison. Now, this is Donald J. Peterson. I'm going to legalize recreational marijuana day one. And what I'm going to do for the drug issue is I'm going to legalize drugs in an ethical and responsible manner, which means I'm going to open drug treatment centers. All right? That means there's going to be 2 in each county, 1 and then an overflow in each county. So when one's full, nobody's turned away. You can go to the other one 5 blocks away. And all the drugs are pharmaceutical grade. You can't bring anything in with you. Even your clothes are taken and put in a storage locker. And you get hospital scrubs. Everybody goes to see the doctor for a quick checkup. And then they take your order. And you do all the drugs you want, no matter what it is. It's pharmaceutical grade. Crack cocaine, regular snort cocaine, smokable meth, snorting meth, pills, heroin, MDMA, you name it, and cannabis is there too. And all these drugs and all the pills, oxycodones and Xanaxes and all the different pills and everything, it's all pharmaceutical grade. And what it is you do all the drugs you want and you can't leave until you're sober. That cuts down on home invasion, carjackings, armed robberies, every type of burglary you could probably think of, everything, because people can get the drugs if they want in a safe and responsible manner. And it's kind of a psych ward clinical setting, and there's orderlies and security everywhere. And like I said, you do all the drugs you want, you can't leave until you're sober. There's no Rob Reiner or Nick Reiner type things where Nick couldn't get the drugs he needed, so he killed his parents. He committed murder. There's none of that in Florida. I'm going to legalize drugs in a responsible manner. So you're not on the street doing drugs, and anybody who's high on drugs on the street is immediately picked up, taken into the psych wards, and evaluated and found out what drugs they're taking. And everybody gets a Florida drug card. And it identifies you as a drug-addicted person. That's a health issue. And then you can go to the drug treatment centers whenever you want, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When you need drugs and you're about to have some sort of a mental breakdown, you go right over to the drug treatment centers and you get the drugs you need, pharmaceutical grade, and you do all the drugs you want. And you can't leave until you're sober. And if you can't afford it, it's free to cut down on crime. This will cut down on crime majorly. And people might realize afterwards that, maybe doing these drugs is not really that important to me anymore. But for the ones who are and willing to do crimes, especially like the meth crimes that people do when they buy the meth, and you know where the meth comes from? These people doing meth, they buy it from law enforcement on the internet. It's law enforcement, and it's all laced with stuff. So what I'm saying is we have to have a plan here for Florida. But first of all, legal recreational marijuana, and then drug treatment centers. So anyway, thank you all so much. But please vote for me for Florida, because right now, any other governor's candidate right now, nobody's going to legalize marijuana, and they want the lobby money from law enforcement to collude and conspire with law enforcement to keep marijuana illegal so law enforcement can sell it and keep all the money. That's corruption. Florida is more corrupt than Minnesota. Where's the $100 billion in marijuana commerce right now? Each county could use that commerce and taxation revenue. It's going to law enforcement. And Ron DeSantis, of course, I think he got like $100 million in filthy drug money, something like that, because there's no way he could be that evil and stupid. And believe me, Florida's highest in the nation for fentanyl overdose deaths. So law enforcement is doing a real bang-up job here in Florida. But anyway, I want to change everything over. Please vote for me, Donald J. Peterson, for governor for Florida. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you.